The fallacy of judging decisions solely by their results. When evaluating an investor's skills, the first piece of information we often seek is that person's most recent rate of return. Almost as an invisible psychological instinct, most people believe that the final outcome of a decision is the most accurate measure of the quality of that decision. If the results are positive, the decision is deemed correct. If the results fall short of expectations, we conclude that the decision-making was flawed. This is a common habitude that, if left unexamined, prevents us from recognizing the inherent disconnect between the quality of the outcome and the quality of the decision itself. After all, it is hard to argue with someone making a blatantly poor decision when the outcome seems to prove otherwise. However, for individuals whose work operates in environments where uncertainty plays a critical role in shaping outcomes, an essential principle is well understood. The final result of a decision does not reveal anything definitive about its quality. Truly astute investors grasp that the quality of the outcome and the quality of the decision are not synonymous. In practice, both highly accurate decisions that produce poor results and foolish decisions that yield excellent outcomes exist all around us. The key lies in our ability to distinguish skill from luck. If nothing were as simple as it appears in the investment world, how then can we accurately determine who genuinely possesses investment skill? Skill versus luck. In investing, no action regardless of one's talent can guarantee that things will unfold exactly as anticipated. Uncertainty and randomness in future events remain constants in the investment landscape. This raises a crucial question for investors. If the influence of future uncertainty is inescapable, how can we be sure that a favorable outcome is truly the result of investment skill rather than mere luck? Theoretically, investment skill should be easier to identify. We could conduct a large enough experiment for each individual investment case. Suppose an investor is considering putting money into company X. Imagine that we could replicate this scenario 100 times and then track the outcomes after the investor commits funds to company X. Let's assume the observations fall into two scenarios. Scenario A. In 90 instances, the results are favorable, while in 10 cases, the outcomes are poor. Analyzing the unfavorable cases reveals that external factors beyond the investor's control negatively affected company X's performance. Scenario B. In 80 instances, the outcomes are negative, and in 20 cases, the results are favorable. A closer look at the favorable outcomes shows that unforeseen positive events beyond the investor's original expectations shifted company X's future prospects dramatically for the better. Between these two scenarios, it is clear that genuine investment skill appears only in scenario A. Yet, if the investor happens to experience the negative outcome in scenario A 10% chance or the positive result in scenario B a 20% chance, it is hard not to feel foolish in the former case and supremely clever in the latter. All too often, we equate the quality of the outcome with the quality of the decision without delving deeper into the decision-making process itself. The world is filled with individuals who use the final outcome as the sole metric for judging a decision's quality. This is one of the most common traps when evaluating decision-making, especially in investing, where uncertainty is an unchanging constant that directly affects returns. It is truly difficult to discern where skill ends and luck begins when both factors play roles in the outcome of every investment decision. Where does investment skill come from? Investment skill, often labeled as alpha in financial circles, a term that carries a cool connotation regardless of the field, can be simply defined as the ability to outperform the market over the long term. The market's performance is used as a benchmark because investors can nearly replicate it by passively investing in index funds or ETFs. If you can earn the market's return with minimal effort, then beating the market is the benchmark you must strive for to prove that the effort you put into active investing is truly worthwhile. However, while this sounds simple, investors who consistently generate alpha are exceedingly rare, especially after accounting for taxes and transaction fees. In economic theory, alpha is said not to exist under the efficient market hypothesis (EMH), which posits that the market price always reflects the the true value of a company. According to EMH, any gains or losses are purely the result of random market movements. Thus, achieving returns that exceed the market consistently over the long term is deemed impossible. Short-term outperformance might occur by chance, but it cannot be sustained over time. The obvious conclusion from this hypothesis is that any market participant, whether a PhD in economics or a random monkey, cannot influence the final investment result and must surrender entirely to the whims of the market. In such a view, investment skill simply cannot exist in an efficient market. If you have followed this series from the beginning, you know that my view on the efficient market hypothesis is rather nuanced. While the theory cannot be entirely dismissed, it should not be accepted uncritically. It is undeniably challenging to beat the market, and the growing popularity of index funds around the world is evidence that more and more investors recognize that outperforming the market is not as straightforward as many might assume. However, that does not mean alpha does not exist in the investment world. Genuine alpha is extremely rare, which is why we must be wary of those who claim to possess it. One useful perspective is to assume that everyone you know who invests in the stock market is incapable of beating the market until there is convincing evidence to the contrary. Such convincing evidence would require that the person demonstrate continuously superior performance relative to the market over a sufficiently long period, typically at least 5 years, so that the data becomes reliable. Remarkable short-term performance is common in investing, so we must learn to distinguish true alpha investors from those merely riding a short-lived wave. One of the greatest challenges in pinpointing alpha is that uncertainty or luck is always present in the market. In reality, every investment outcome is influenced by both factors, skill and luck, with their relative impacts varying from case to case. Recognizing that every outcome is partially a matter of luck reveals how dangerous it can be to use investment returns as the sole measure of decision quality. We may end up learning perilous lessons if we focus only on profitable investments and ignore those that lost money. To successfully distinguish between skill and luck in investing, one must understand how these factors interact to produce the final result. A decision that truly demonstrates alpha is one where, if faced with similar situations repeatedly and the investor consistently makes similar decisions, the frequency of favorable outcomes far exceeds that of unfavorable ones. While some poor outcomes may be attributable to uncontrollable external factors, if the number of positive outcomes greatly outweighs the negatives, then the decision can be considered sound. Conversely, a favorable outcome that occurs solely because of chance is one where external events and randomness positively influence performance, but there is no guarantee that repeating the decision in the future would yield similarly impressive returns. A wise investment decision is the product of a rigorously planned process. An investment that succeeds merely by chance is one in which you did nothing to deserve the positive outcome. Luck simply smiled upon you, with no certainty that it will do so again. To become a smart investor, having a well-defined decision-making process is the key to sustainable long-term success. Short-term results may come and go like the wind, but only a sound investment process can help you maintain your long-term edge in the market. Creating value, simply put, the value of an active investor lies in creating alpha, the ability to outperform the market over the long run. But what does beating the market really mean? Most people consider it to mean achieving a rate of return higher than the market average. They overlook that alpha can also manifest in the form of smaller declines than the overall market during downturns. Another way to think about alpha is by asking a fundamental question: what is your competitive advantage? If you possess the same qualities as everyone else, why would you expect to achieve alpha? Nassim Taleb, in his book Skin in the Game, offers a model that I find particularly effective for contemplating competitive advantages in any situation. As a trader of options, Taleb used his market insights to generalize the inherent advantage of having optionality across various aspects of life. In the financial world, if you believe that company X's stock will rise in the future but are unwilling to take on the risk to buy a substantial number of shares, you might purchase a call option. This is a contract between a buyer and a seller whereby the buyer has the right but not the obligation to purchase company X's stock at a predetermined price, the strike price, within a fixed time period. As the option bearer, you hold the power of choice. If the future unfolds favorably, you exercise your option. If not, you can let it expire. You hold the choice, while the option seller is obligated to fulfill the contract if you decide to exercise. Clearly, having such an option is a significant advantage, which is why option buyers pay a premium to compensate the seller for assuming that risk. At its core, Taleb's idea revolves around the concept of asymmetry. The option bearer enjoys the upside, while the seller bears the downside, a pure embodiment of asymmetrical risk and reward. In financial markets, options clearly illustrate asymmetry in benefits, and they are priced efficiently because everyone recognizes that having a choice is inherently valuable. However, outside of finance, choices are not as explicitly valued, making it difficult to observe the crucial impact of asymmetry that comes with having options in life. Take, for example, money itself, a pure form of choice. If your only goal in life is to amass as much money as possible, that is, in my view, the most trivial ambition anyone can have. Money only becomes truly useful you understand what goals it can help you achieve. Money is the embodiment of choice in its most refined form. The more money you have, the more choices you can pursue in life. However, if money becomes the ultimate end in itself, you will end up living an unhappy life. True misery and isolation come when money is the sole driving force behind everything you do. Don't think of money as the final goal of all your endeavors. Rather, view it as a tool to help you achieve other, more important objectives. Choice always creates asymmetry, but not all asymmetry stems from choice. With careful observation, one can see that asymmetry is the foundation of every competitive advantage. Brilliant individuals absorb new knowledge more easily. Attractive people often find tasks simpler to accomplish. Those with solid backgrounds tend to have smoother career progressions, and so on. Many speak of these differences as unfair aspects of the world, negative terms, whereas the neutral concept is simply asymmetry. Others possess things you do not, or if you have them, they have more. Every competitive advantage originates from asymmetry. Therefore, determining an investor's true skill or alpha begins with identifying whether any asymmetry is present, and if so, where it lies. I have observed that alpha investors are always those who possess asymmetry in their understanding of market secrets. They are the ones who can uncover truths hidden from the majority, facts that few acknowledge or even know about. Alternatively, alpha may arise from psychological asymmetry. Alpha investors can control their emotions exceptionally well, while others are easily swept up by the crowd. Or it may come from performance asymmetry. For example, when the market rises by 5%, your portfolio might rise by 10%, while in a downturn your losses are limited to only 5%. When we view the market through a different lens, it becomes clear that every advantage, every competitive edge is built upon some form of asymmetry. Asymmetrical risk and reward. Broadly speaking, investment skill is the ability to create an asymmetry in investment performance relative to the market. Since investment skill is measured over the long term, achieving a one-year return that outperforms the market might be common. A true alpha investor is one who can sustain this asymmetry over a sufficiently long period so that the performance data become reliable. In the arduous journey of investing, one must learn to identify asymmetries in the market, and therein lies the discovery of the rarest specimens in the investment world, true alpha investors.